Hi, my name is Julia Diecker, and today my speech is about pollution. Pollution is an ongoing problem in the world. You can see it every day. There is pollution that is affecting people's health because of contaminated water and air. There is also other problems with pollution happening in Nebraska. I'm going to inform you about the pollution in Nebraska and also tell you about the policies in the United States. You will understand the rates of pollution in Nebraska and how they continue to rise and fall. There needs to be a solution to the life-ending problems of pollution, not just in Nebraska, but around the world too. First, let's talk about pollution in Nebraska. According to the article, Nebraska waterways are the 6th worst in the nation. In Nebraska, 58% of U.S. rivers are in poor condition, 23% are in fair condition, and 21% are in good condition. There are more polluted water than unpolluted waters in Nebraska. This is a problem because in Nebraska, we use water to drink, irrigate, and other home uses. The report from EPA considers a new rule to restore the Clean Water Act that protects more than 60,000 miles of waterways across the nation. The article, EPA announces innovative research in Kansas and Nebraska, states EPA encourages the use of innovative scientific approaches to help solve important environmental problems, said EPA Minister Scott Pruitt. By working with our state partners, we can expand and diversify EPA's work, engage the public, and foster creative solutions to these challenges. As you can see, they are aware of the challenges, but there is no solution. Industries dump more than 206 million pounds, polluting more than 17,000 miles of rivers and about 210,000 million acres land of lakes, ponds, and estuaries in Nebraska. Industrial facilities dump 10.5 million pounds of toxic chemicals in the state rivers and streams. All of these toxic chemicals that get into people's water can cause cancer and toxins. These can have deadly outcomes. The EPA announces in 2017 that Nebraska has a pressing environmental issue which is ongoing today in 2019. E. coli has been identified as one of the leading causes for water decline in Nebraska. Harmful algae bloom can lead to drinking water contamination and fish or even human poisoning. In Nebraska, technology will help identify sources of fecal contamination in rivers, lakes, and estuaries. Combined with modern efforts, blue-green algae produces a toxin called microcin, which is harmful to humans and animals. In Nebraska, there is a huge outbreak of lakes being contaminated with blue-green algae, also known as harmful algae blooms. Next, let's talk about policies in Nebraska and the United States that help prevent pollution and protect the environment. Policies for the United States are the Pollution Prevention Act, the Clean Air Act, and the Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act. Since these acts have been implemented, the environment has dramatically improved, but there still is pollution problems across the nation. Nebraska Department of Natural Resources says in the article, Clean Water Act, the Clean Water Act is to restore and maintain chemical, physical, and biological integrity in the nation's water. Congress must also aid in research relating to the management of pollution and provide financial assistance to state and interstate agencies involved in prevention and reduction of pollution. Now, some may say money is a problem, but the acts already in place are being funded properly and don't have any problems. Any money needed for funding and upholding these acts is funded by the government and discussed during congressional debate. Typically, Congress has specifies funding levels for certain aspects of EPA environment activities or required the agency to undertake certain actions and under annual appropriations. The EPA grant funding helps fund all of these acts to prevent pollution. Adding a few more acts would be worth it in the long run to help save our planet. As of now, all of these laws are being enforced by threats of penalties and fines towards industries who don't follow the acts. Nebraska issues rules and regulations on companies. Some companies have to obtain a permit to continue their business. The primary tool for the Air Quality Division uses is the air quality permits to implement the air quality regulations. So these acts are being enforced and followed to some extent, but pollution is still a problem, and so are toxins in Nebraska. Air Quality Division states that the DEE follow the acts, but only put enforcement on industries and permits and fines. There needs to be further laws and regulations to prevent our ecosystems from being destroyed. Some people may ask why this should be our problem. According to Alexandra Sifferlin, a study has shown that only 32% of Americans care about climate change and only 55% care about water pollution. Many people don't realize the effect pollution is having on themselves and the environment, especially in Nebraska. People don't see and aren't educated on the pollution in water bodies, so they refuse to acknowledge it. I think Nebraskans are wrong if they don't see pollution as a problem. They should care because it's our lives and homes that could slowly disappear. The acts that are already in place should be enforced better to protect people living in Nebraska. Now I'm going to show you and inform you about the rates of pollution in Nebraska and how we can make a change. Picture a world full of trash. Nebraska life could slowly come to an end if we don't fix our problems. A graph on slide 9 shows that over time more and more plastic is going into landfills instead of being recycled. This number is going to increase each year. A graph on slide 8 shows that Nebraska has the leading irrigated acres in the U.S. If our water is polluted and toxic to humans, then Nebraska has the leading irrigated. Nebraska should have laws that say certain industries are not allowed to dump any toxic chemicals into water bodies. We also should have a law that all recyclable items should be recycled and it should be required. You can also obtain money from recycling the items. This can prevent land pollution. Simply put, pollution is destroying our ecosystems. Nebraska should make the changes needed to prevent pollution. Nebraska has many ongoing problems that are not being solved by the laws in place. Pollution is a major problem around the world, but we should focus on our community here in Nebraska. Thank you.